few weeks ago I shot a video on this little snapper I got in, and I had spoken on that, went over a little bit of what it was. At first I said it was fuel injection, but it actually is fuel management control. Actually it's fuel electronic control. It's what this thing is, and the computer, it's got a computer on it, or had a computer on it. And I will go into a video on a little conversion that I've done on switching it over to a regular switch. So at this time, let's get into the video and see what happens. Hey everyone, I've been working on this little snapper mower. I got it in some few weeks ago, and it had an electrical problem. And what this thing come out with is electric controlled. In other words, it was computer controlled. It controlled basically the carburetor. I said it was a fuel injection, but it's a carburetor. And what I've been doing is bypassing this little feller, and up and under here is a little computer box. And what I done though, I took this little push start button off. It was bad, and something was going on with the computer. Once you started it, if you had to shut it off, you had to take the cable off and go back 10 or 15 minutes later, and then it would start. You know, if you're out mowing and you need to put fuel in it and shut it down and start it back, you need to get the job done. So what I done, I put this little switch on it here. Just like a regular mower, I bypassed the computer, other than works the dash here. In other words, where I can see where the settings are, because the deck is a motor control. You just push a button and a little motor raises it up and down. Okay, that being said, the changes that I had to make up is I had to change the kill switch, because when the computer would do whatever it done, it would shut it off. And we know these little engines, there isn't but 4 wires that goes on it. And you know, they still work off the magneto. In other words, if you can spin the motor over and get gas to it down in it, it's going to run. That's basically a mower. That's the way they work. It is the electric carburetor, the 1 wire. And what I had to do, I haven't soldered this up yet. There's still a hanging mess here. It's dangerous. But anyway, what I had to do, I just I left the old wire in there, and I just put me a separate kill wire on it. In other words, on your coils, there's 2 coils. This is a V-twin. So there's a coil for each side. And you've got a little wire that sticks on it that works as a kill switch. And all it is, guys, is a ground. In other words, you can ground that thing out to the engine and it will stop, because it cuts the fire off the magnetic coils, just like the old days. So I had to run a wire for it, and it's run on the start side. In other words, when you turn it all the way over to the starter to start it, to make this starter kick in, you want fire going to that carburetor, and don't keep it on it or it will cause it to flood. You just need fire on it to get it started. And then when you let off the start switch, it kills the fire to it and your starter solenoid. So I ran 2 wires for that on this particular one on the switch. First of all, we needed to hook the hot and the grounds up. And you know, that was pretty obvious. You had an orange, you had a red, and then you had the black, and then you had the black wire with the stripe through it was the kill, or the stop on it, that will go to the magnetos to stop it to when you turn this switch over to stop, okay? And I just hooked the hot wire up that sent fire to the main dash. In other words, it worked the lights, that worked the dash lights here, worked all of the controls, kicks your deck in. The little doodad here that when you turn it, you can back up while mowing. This one little red wire took care of that. And that's basically all I've done. And the headlight has its own setup, so we will just leave the headlights the way they are. And that's basically it in a nutshell. Everything works on this other than the headlight, because it's got its own switch, so we just leave that alone. So basically this is bypassed now. It is wired up now, just like your older mowers was. In other words, we done away with this three-way switch. You hit it one time, it kicks far on it. Push it again, and it starts it. Hit it again, it cuts it off. And honestly, it didn't know to do that. So this one does, because you know why? Because everywhere I put it, I say when it does what it does. I like manual. Ain't nothing like it, is it? I am going to put a manual choke on it. This is the electric choke right here. I like that, and it will be set up like your old lawnmowers. If I thought, I would have done this video already, but I already had it together for a thought. So basically that's what we got. This wire runs to your solenoid. This wire runs to the carburetor start, kicks that little solenoid in or whatever that allows the gas to go in to start it. And I put a main fuse link on it, so if there's any problems it'll shoot the fuse. So I've got everybody good and confused now. I did go down and get a switch wire, and on one of the grounds, I'm going to ground it to the ground, on the ground. It will give it a little more, it had its own ground, but I'm going to ground it to the main battery as well, just as the main hot is hooked up to the main battery terminal to make sure that it gets good far. Okay, but that's it, folks. That's it in a nutshell. Sorry I didn't shoot the whole video, but this is no longer electric controlled. It is now manual, just like the old ones. It did not work right, but the only kickback on it is I'm not sure that these safety switches work. Now your switch would look something like this, and then the wires would plug on the end of it, and I just left them, like I said, about a foot long to be able to wire it. Now I had to find out what wire was which. And so this is just a little rundown of what wire went where. The blue wire on the switch was the ignition. The white wire was the starter. The red wire and orange I used for the battery. And the brown wire is for the light. I didn't use it. It has its own switch. And the black with the white stripe was used for the stop switch, okay? In other words, the stop switch works off of the ground because of the magnetic coil. So what we're going to do now is test, see if anything's shortened out. And at this time, you just simply take your ohm meter. I set it on DCVs, about 20. Gets a pretty accurate reading, or it works for me. And you're basically going to stick one side to the negative post, down to the post on the cable, to the post on the battery, as you can see. Now, I always take the cable off anyway. I never leave it on lawnmowers and old cars and things. The old cars always had a main shut-off switch on it that killed all the fire. I just, this is the safe way to go. But at this time, we will test and see if there's any fire. Now, keep in mind, this is a computerized thing, and I didn't cut all of this stuff loose. So, you could have just a little bit of fire on this because of the computer, like 0.1720, or I believe as long as we're under 30, we will be all right. But anyway, you don't want it to show 6, 10, 12 volt. If you got a 12 volt, you got a dead short in it, and something's major wrong. So as long as, I prefer 0, but with this computer in it, I doubt we're going to get it. But we're just going to take and put one end on, like I said, the cable, and then the other one down on the post on the battery. Okay, our reading is, look like 0.1920, which would probably okay. I could probably load that thing and touch it real quick, and it would be 0, because what it is, it's the computer has wanting the fire to it, and the computerized rig will hold just a little bit of fire on it. So I'm sure that's what's going on. I'm sure we're fine. Later on down the road, if the battery starts dying, at that. I really don't think it will. But anyway, I'm going to just stick the cable on it and do it again. See. Okay, let's see if she starts up and we will see what happens. Going to have to give it a little choke. Okay, let's back her out. We'll let her warm up just for a moment. While we letting it warm up, let's just ease it around a little bit. Get it down here to where I can kick the deck in. Carburetor ain't quite right, is it? Well, there you have it with the conversion. Everything seemed to work. Need to throw some plugs in it. It's got just a little bit of a mist to it, to where it has been setting for so long. The deck, the switch works. Everything worked as we have went through everything. And the deck raises up and down. It is used by a little engine right back in there, if you can see it. But anyway, that's what raises the deck up and down. Don't know about that, but I guess it's alright as long as it works. I'm kind of the old school manual guy, you know, that puts it where I want it. But anyway, maybe I can mow my yard with it. The only downside to it, when I took the computer box off up here and totally took it loose, it totally killed out any safety switch on it. So the only thing about it is, if I were going to sell it, you know, I would have to make it well known that the safety switches don't work. And in fact, I don't sell them that way when it has a problem like that. So, but anyway, I needed a mower to mow with, and I needed it to start and run when I mowed. So maybe it'll do that. And that's kind of the video on the conversion on the little snapper that was computer controlled. It is now switch controlled. It is done old school way, and being that I'm old school, hey, I'm happy. And have a good one, guys.